has now been brutally murdered. They said brutally? Wait, what? She said, yeah, I'm so sorry. I have to be the one to tell you. But his head was decapitated. Because why would you do that? I said, do it now so you can get the drugs. And the woman beside her just started attacking Jane. And she's screaming hysterical. The sentence, he was smiling, he was doing this and blah, blah, blah. And now he is locked up and he can never hurt nobody again. So we think, right? No. What's up, Team Jazzy? It's your girl, Jazzy J, and I am back with another mukbang. So today we're doing things a little different because I have my Christmas tree up where I normally do my setup. So I'm like in the corner of my house, but look what I have. I have my favorite meal right now. Y'all, when I say I done had this 3 days in a row, and I just can't get away from it. It's so good. I actually got it from a YouTuber, a vegan chef YouTuber. This is sourdough bread with just egg. It's like a vegan egg with avocado, seaweed. Is it seaweed? Red onion on sourdough bread, on toasted sourdough bread, and it's so delicious. I also sprinkle some everything bagel seasoning on it, and it makes it even better. So I'm gonna eat this before I even get into this crazy true crime. But imagine finally about to be released from prison. You did 20 years in prison and you turn your life around to God. Your family is so excited for you to come back home, and you just make a pit stop to another prison and you end up getting brutally murdered, your head decapitated, and eyes popped out of your head. Or imagine being a mother of 6 trying to get your life back on track, and right before you move into your apartment, you get a motel, you're staying in a motel, you're about to get your baby back, everything is going good. All of a sudden, a man with tattoos like a clown, which is your biggest fear, is clowns. A man with tattoos on his face breaks into your house and brutally murders you. Or imagine being a 16-year-old at a birthday party and you're having fun and you're dancing and you're drinking. I mean, it's the most lit party ever. A man you don't know just charges at you with a knife. And when he finally gets to you because y'all running out the door, he stabs you. This is the twisted, disturbing case of Jamie Osuna. So I'm going to pray, and then I'm going to eat, and then we're going to get into the true crime. So if y'all need to fast forward, be my guest. But your girl is hungry. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for the food that I'm about to receive. I ask that it made me nourishment to my body. I ask that you bless the hands I prepared it and bless my entire team, Jazzy. Amen. I've been working on that. So I made the recipe. And I put it in my shorts. So make sure you guys check out my short videos if you want to know exactly how I did this. So what are you guys eating today? What are y'all eating tonight? I never get tired of this meal. Like I told you, I've had this for 3 days. And this is a big slice of bread. That was good. I'm thirsty. This is y'all's reminder to get your gallon of water a day in. So there was a young couple, and they were living in poverty, but they were in love and they were expecting a baby boy. So their problems really weren't so big um, until the father kicked the pregnant mother in the stomach and caused the baby to have brain complications. And that is just the beginning of the abuse that continued to happen. Once the baby was born, which is baby Jamie Osuna, um, he has a he has like a dip in his ear, and doctors say that that's from being kicked when he was a baby. It did something to his brain. It's some type of birth defect from being kicked in his mother's womb. So when Jamie was an infant, his mother left his father for good. She couldn't take the abuse anymore. And by the time Jamie was 1, she actually married a new man. His name is Jeff. So he is Jamie's stepfather. And Jeff did not like Jamie's dad. Jeff didn't like the baby's dad because he tried to kill Jeff. And although we all know the baby has nothing to do with his father's actions, Jeff didn't see it that way, and Jeff did not like the baby. He didn't like living with Jamie because Jamie's father put a knife to his throat. However, Jamie's father was no longer in their life anymore. Jeff couldn't stomach raising the son of a man who tried to kill him. And it all started when Jamie was a baby. He was in a car seat and they were coming home from a fishing trip. And Jamie was doing what babies do, and he was crying in the car. They don't like car seats. And Jeff got so annoyed that he kicked the car seat out of the car while it was moving. And so his mother, Michelle, stops the car, runs and gets her baby, and realizes that the car seat landed upright. So they both decided not to take the baby to the emergency room, being that the car seat landed fine. There was another incident. One time they were eating. Now, I forgot to mention, Jamie has an older brother. So Michelle had 2 sons. And so another incident, they were at the table eating, and Jeff took his fork and threw it at Michelle's other son, and it stabbed him in the forehead. Michelle's parents couldn't take it anymore. They offered to take the little boy to live with them, but they told Michelle, "You keep the baby," which is understandable. I remember when I had my 2 kids, my mom was always like, "Okay, we'll take the oldest to take some weight off of you, but you keep the baby." And that was this incident. That was basically the same scenario. But as they got older and they had more children, you would think like, okay, for the love of my child, I now know how to treat other children. That was not the case for Jeff. It actually made it very worse. His hatred towards Jamie was even worse now that he had kids of his own. And whenever they all ate at the table, he would not let Jamie eat. He would have his kids eat first, and he would make Jamie watch the other kids eat food. And then when they were done eating, he would scrape their leftovers in a bowl, put it on the floor, and tell Jamie to eat it with no hands. Jamie's favorite thing to do was love on his mommy, but unfortunately, Michelle had to quickly and privately show Jamie love, or else it would make Jeff very jealous, and he would yell at Michelle and be like, "Don't put him before me. I am your husband, and you never put children before your husband." And so she would show him love, but she would do it very quickly and push him away just because she also didn't want to get in trouble by Jeff. One time, Jamie spilled juice on the floor, and his punishment was being tied to a tree and beaten with a belt. And Michelle couldn't take it anymore. She called the police. Finally, she called the police on Jeff, and the police came and got him. He pleaded guilty to child cruelty, and then he was released from jail, and they got back together. One time it was raining, and Jeff pushed him outside, and Jamie is banging on the door, trying to get back inside where it's warm and dry, and Jeff would not let him in. Instead, he thought it would be funny to go upstairs and yell because the bathroom was above the outside door. So if you're upstairs in the bathroom, if you open the window, you can talk to whoever is standing on the porch. So what Jeff did was he opened up the window and then slammed it really hard, broke the glass, and made it fall on Jamie. And he was just cut up everywhere. So they went to the emergency room, and Jamie actually needs stitches. And at this point, Michelle's parents is like, give us Jamie too. So he went to go live with his very religious grandparents who had a library full of psychological books that Jamie would read all the time. He slowly stopped seeing his mother slowly stopped coming around. So he just turned to the streets. He's always in the streets, and he started killing animals simply just because. At the age of 15, Jamie went to juvenile for stabbing another little boy. And the straw that broke the camel's back of his mother, Michelle, was because Jeff said, good, I'm glad he's going to jail. I want him far away from us as possible. I don't want him in our life. And Michelle, just something about him saying that, although he has said it plenty of times with his actions, something about him admitting that made Michelle leave him for good. And let's just take a quick sneak peek into Jeff's childhood. His father abused his mother, and he watched it all the time. His father also tried to kill him. He threw him and his sister into a river in hopes that they would drown. And they didn't drown. And so here we go. Hurt people if you don't get the proper healing. And I really believe he was subconsciously being his father because that's his childhood. You know, he was mimicking his childhood with, unfortunately, Jamie, who, and yeah, we're gonna get into more of what Jamie has done, but this is a very good example. This case is a very good example of how your childhood affects your adulthood. So let's get into why Jamie stabbed this boy. So Jamie is at a party that he's invited to by his friend. His friend says, come with me to my little cousin's 16th birthday party. Jamie's like, all right, cool. So they go to the party. It's people everywhere. It's lit. It's drinks. It's alcoholic drinks. It's dancing, loud music. The best party to a 16-year-old group of kids. And all of a sudden, Jamie's friend walks up to him and was like, yo, I'm mad. This little boy is dancing on my aunt. My aunt is 37 years old, and this little boy touching and feeling on her. Jamie said, oh, okay. Jamie goes to the kitchen, grabs a knife, and tries to stab him. But the dude sees him coming, so he takes off running. And Jamie chases him out of the party. And by the time Jamie catches up to him, it wasn't just a scare tactic. He actually stabbed him. And although it wasn't enough damage for this little boy to lose his life, it was enough damage for Jamie to go to juvenile, and for the mother, the mother of the birthday boy, she got a citation for serving minors alcohol. Now, Jamie had to do 2 years in juvenile for this. And within these 2 years, he pursued the 37-year-old woman of it was the mother of the little boy that had the birthday party. And he told her that he overreacted in honor of her. He was so in love with her, and she started to fall in love with him because of how respectful he was, how intelligent he talked. Remember when he lived with his grandparents, that's all he did was read books and kill animals. So he was very, very smart and talked very smart. And he was respectful and charming. He knew all the right words to say. I'm 37 years old, and this little boy, this 16-year-old boy, is talking to me like he's my age. And so that was attractive to her, like to the point she fell in love with him. And within 2 years, it was time for him to get released. She was the one to go pick him up. And she noticed that he had two extra tattoos on his face. He had an arrow above his eye, and he had half of a Joker smile. But giving the obvious, she just looked past it and just was like, hey, you are who you are. So, first things first, they had to find a motel. And although this 37-year-old, we're going to call her Jane because no one knows her name, but this 37-year-old, this 37-year-old Jane, she didn't really see a future with him because of their 20-year age difference, but she was like, I have the hots for him. So a one night stand ain't gonna hurt, but we all know, especially at 37 years old, that a one night stand can turn into 18 years with someone if you don't use protection. And this was Jane's case. She didn't use protection, and she ended up pregnant by Jamie. So she had to tell him, and he was very happy. He was like, this is my time to shine. I am going to be the father that I never had. And he proposed to her. He convinced her to get married. Let's get married. We're going to do this the right way. He was Mr. Mom. He just helped so much in the house. He was just the greatest father to be, the greatest stepfather, the greatest husband. And when it was time to plan the wedding, he was hands on. He was all in. What we doing? What we doing? This gotta be perfect. He wanted everything in order. Like, what are they called? Groomzillas. That's how much he was passionate about this new life that he had created. He's always been the bad guy, and now he gets to do something right, and he gets to raise his own seed and do it the right way. And all of that came to a halt. Although she's about to be 40, she's like, hey, no one's perfect. Giving my pass. She was always in an abusive relationship. And she got pregnant at a very young age. She worked her butt off and put herself in nursing school, all to have to retire because she worked at a prison and an inmate attacked her. So here we are, almost 40, and I low-key feel like a failure. But then again, I've been in abusive relationships before. This seems pretty stable, but it's also so imperfect. I'm attracted to imperfect because the other times that I chased perfect, it didn't go right. But this guy, it's so backward. He's so young. He has no experience, but he just seems so right for me. So she's like, what the heck? She put it in the back of her mind. She kept living life. So once the baby was born and the honeymoon stage was over, everybody starts getting comfortable. True colors come out because, we're no longer in love. We're just going through the motions, and now two people have to become one even when you're mad at each other. But that wasn't the case for Jamie. When he was mad at her, he became abusive. He became controlling. Hurt people if you don't get the proper healing. And he would take her mother's ashes and run out the door with them and come back without them.
very abusive, emotionally, physically. Like, that was his way of punishing you for not doing as he said. He would go to jail for domestic violence, but as soon as he was released, him and Jane get back together. And they did this for a while. She became numb and stopped reacting to him. And we all know what happens when you stop reacting to your narcissist. They just go find another victim. However, his new victim was now Jane's son from a previous relationship. And he would hit on this little boy and abuse him and yoke him up and push him down. But he did all of this while he was staring at Jane, trying to get a reaction out of her. So she was really still the victim. And she couldn't take it no more. Don't touch my baby. She went and grabbed a knife and tried to kill him. He went back to jail. And this time, she got a restraining order against him. And when he finally got out, he was released on Halloween, and he had finished the rest of that Joker smile tattoo. And Jane continued to call the police. She had her nephew helping her call the police. She continued to call because he was vexing her. He was driving past the street. He was standing in her yard. He was looking in her window. He would disappear. He would call and say where he's at. Then once the police finally got there, Jamie's completely gone.
Sheriff's Office. Hi, I called maybe like 3 or 4 hours ago regarding my estranged husband breaking a restraining order.
Okay.
I was just wondering if anyone was on their way or...
Yes, ma'am. It looks like your call should be the next call up for service.
He's threatening to kill me, and I'm terrified.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
He's threatening to kill me and all my children.
Do you know where he's at right now?
No, I'm terrified. I don't know what to do.
911, where's your emergency?
I'm terrified. I have a little baby here.
What's his name?
Jamie Osuna. There's already a warrant for his arrest. For terror. He's in town.
Okay, but he's not there, right?
He's driving up and down my street. I called 3 times.
Okay, and he's on the phone again making threats to kill you?
Yes. He says, I will put words in your head. Those are his exact words.
911, how can I help you?
Yes, hi, ma'am. Is there any way we can get an officer out here? My aunt is, like, terrified. She's crying over here.
Okay.
We got voice support, and he just called, and I'm just a nephew. This dude is no joke. So
We're going to be out there as soon as we can. However, we don't have a deputy available right now.
This reminds me of the case. The police ignored the birthday girl. Go watch that video because it's low-key similar. But so about a week goes by, and he calls Jane again. And he says, watch the news because I just killed a woman at the Morocco motel. And she's like, what? And so she hangs up with him and she calls 911.
Was there anybody hurt or stabbed at the Morocco Hotel on Union last night? Because he said he did it. He said
I don't know what...
The woman in the Morocco Hotel on Union.
I just spoke with the Bakersfield Police Department, and they did not familiar with anything that occurred last night. So they're still checking, but as far as I know, we have not been able to locate anything. So, okay.
I just wanted to make sure. I hope there wasn't someone, suffering because he's really psycho.
They're like, girl, no. We ain't getting no phone call. You crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. We ain't gonna look into it. We don't care. We ain't get the phone call. Y'all just fighting or something. 5 days later, 911 operators get another call.
Hello, I am calling from the El Morocco Motel. And I found there's a lady that stays here at the motel, and my cleanup guy went in the room and saw her all stabbed in the back. She's dead, I think.
Oh my gosh, what room is it, sir?
It's room number 19 at the El Morocco Motel.
Can you imagine? They was like, what? And they found Jamie at his grandparents' house. So they took him in for questioning about this woman. Her name was Yvette, who had lost her life in a motel. She was a mother of 6. And I am going to do a case about that. It's going to be called Her Biggest Fear Became Her Reality. So look out for that. So the police is questioning him about why he did this to this woman, but all he wants to keep talking about is his wife, Jane. He's like, she just keeps messing with me. He's talking to the police. He's talking to the investigators like this. She keeps messing with me. What can I do to get her to stop? Like, how can I get away from her? And they was like, oh, this is going to give you some distance. He pleaded not guilty. He said, I didn't kill that lady. I didn't kill that lady. I want to talk about my wife and why she messing with me. Why she keep messing with me? And they said, well, why you keep breaking your restraining order? She said, you keep coming to her house. He was like, oh, I was just playing with her. I was just trying to scare her. So the police noticed his obsession to vex his wife. And they realized his wife looks just like the victim Yvette that he brutally murdered at the Morocco Motel. So he spent his time in jail mailing Jane letters, calling, cussing her out and hanging up, calling children's services on her, and mailing her dead rats. Talk about the baby father from hell. He called children's services so much that they, in fact, picked her up and took her to jail. Can y'all believe that? She had to go to, like, family court or something. Like, I don't know. This is an interview that she gave. And she said that they put her on a van. And she was beside another inmate. And they were traveling to the family court. And she heard Jamie's voice. He was in the cage of the van. And she was just sitting in the seat. And then there was a inmate beside her. And Jamie's voice real loud said, do it now so you can get the drugs. And the woman beside her just started attacking Jane. And she's screaming hysterical. And when the van stops, the prison guards come around. Jane is freaking out. She's crying and screaming, trying to tell them what's going on. And their response was, don't let them see you sweat. That was what the prison guards told her. Don't let them see you sweat. So when Jane finally gets out of jail, she puts herself in therapy. She's like, I've had enough. And that's so sad because all of us need therapy before the trauma. Like, why do we wait until trauma happens to finally want to fix it? And we wonder why we go through things. Because God is pushing us to go get help. Jamie was sentenced to life without parole. And when he was given his sentence, he was smiling. He was doing this and blah, blah, blah. When the family, the woman that he murdered at the motel, when the family was expressing their anger and their sorrow and how they missed their loved one and how she was killed for no reason just because she looked like your wife, he was like doing all that. He decided to plead guilty and he told the judge, I want pictures of my work. And the judge was like, are you insane? No. Only Satan would be proud of something like that. So he was transported to Corcoran State Prison. So things is starting to clear. The fog is starting to clear. And Jane hasn't heard from Jamie. He just slowly faded out of her life. And now he is locked up and he can never hurt nobody again. So we think, right? No. On March 9th, 2019, the prison guards noticed that there was a sheet over Jamie's cell. When they ordered for him to take the sheet down, they realized his cellmate had been decapitated, eyes pulled out of his socket, and Jamie was wearing a necklace made out of the organs of his cellmate. His cellmate was Luis Romero. The prison guards say that the scene was so horrific they will have nightmares for the rest of their life.
Jamie was never supposed to have a cellmate. So where did all this go wrong? And when the prison called Louise, the one who got decapitated, when they called his family, all they said was he passed away with no details. The family didn't know what happened until days, weeks, and probably a month later, when a reporter called them, and she just wanted to interview them to see how they felt about their loved one who was supposed to be on the way home, has now been brutally murdered. They said brutally? Wait, what? She said, yeah, I'm so sorry. I have to be the one to tell you, but his head was decapitated. His eyes was out of his head, and his organs was around his killer's neck. And he did all this with a small razor. Y'all didn't know? They were like, no, we didn't know. Sounds like foul play to me, because Jamie was never even supposed to have a cellmate. And y'all supposed to do prison checks. Y'all supposed to do cell checks every 30 minutes. So you mean to tell me this man did that in 30 minutes? And he's a short man. He's like 5'4". He's Jamie short. So Luis Romero's mother, Dora, is filing a lawsuit against the sergeant of the prison, who assigned Jamie and Louise to be cellmates. Because why would you do that? Louise was just about to get released from prison. He had turned his life around and made a pit stop. He was getting transferred quickly. Didn't know why. He was just quickly getting transferred to another prison real quick before he got released. All to get killed by a dangerous inmate who was never supposed to have a cellmate a week prior. A week after he had arrived. He had just got there. And a week later, he lost his life. My prayer is that Luis Romero's family gets justice for this and some type of answers. So May 2020, during trial, Jamie blurted out, I don't want a hearing. I want to plead guilty, and I want pictures of my work. It's like that's all he's capable of saying. Doctors have diagnosed him with schizophrenia, spectrum, antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So the judge has decided that he is incompetent to stand trial. He has hundreds of pages of mental health records, and he still refuses to see a psychiatrist. He said that there is other people that he has killed, but he's like, I'm not going to tell nobody, because that's the only thing that I have left. He's like, the whole world already knows what I've done. And it's like, just in case I need to stand trial again, I'm going to use those to my leverage. At this point, Jamie needs the death penalty since he is refusing all of that. I think that's what he's trying to get. But he spends all of his time now just firing all of his defense attorneys, and then he gets a new one, and then he fires them. Like, that's what he spends his time doing. So let's send love to the victims' families, and I hope that they get the peace and understanding that they need. Post notification goes to... Thank you so much for having your post notifications on. Shout out to you for being the first to comment on the last video. If you would like a shout out, all you have to do is be the first to comment on the next video. If you would like to see more true crime videos, then click right here. If you would like to subscribe to this channel so that you never miss another video, then click right here. I love you, and I will see you guys in the next month. Bye!